Zowie.
Three days ago, we started with 8 teams competing on Counter-Strike in the Austin Convention Center. We have $100,000 being battled for, a glorious trophy in a glorious city. They say Austin is incredibly weird, and some of the results here are exactly the same. We have just 2 teams remaining with 1 best of 3 to be played. And there is a lot on the line for these guys. We've already lost G2, favorites for the tournament falling to none other than Gambit, a team who've been throwing spanner in the works of competitive Counter-Strike at the last couple of events. The boys from CIS, they are endurance Counter-Strike players, and they're going to have to be after a bloodbath of a full 3 mapper. They go into another grand final now, another best of 3, and this one promises to be similar. Immortals, their opponents as well. The Brazilians stand against them, and they have been rather Braziliant so far. That's disgusting.
Oh,
I actually myself
that is actually, you should feel bad.
I feel bad. What will make you feel good, though, is our sponsors. There you go. It's none other than Monster Energy. Astro is the DreamHack Astro Open after all. And, of course, Zowie and Corsair as well. All coming together to make this event possible. Prize money doesn't come from nowhere, and neither does all of these players hanging out in Austin, Texas. It's great to be here. My name is Machine. That's my Twitter handle.
That's actually true.
I should do that all the time. That'd be smart.
Yeah.
Joining me is Halvor Vendetta Gullestol, and, of course, the ex-in-game leader from North America. We're going to get him back in the playing seat soon, but for now we've stolen him for the desk. It is Eric Adrian Hogue. My man.
What's up?
We have these 2 teams, Immortals, Gambit in a grand final. Would you have expected this? Coming into this event, you looked at the 8 teams. Would you have put either of these teams in that grand final?
Yeah, I mean, I said anyone here could get in the grand finals.
Oh, cop-out.
Wow, yeah, that's a massive cop-out.
Yeah. I'm an analyst, but I mean, everyone can do it.
Gambit's been on form.
Yes.
So, and Immortals was definitely, I mean, that Group B was actually really tough to get out of. So Immortals actually just winning those 2 BO1s right off the bat was the best way to get out, honestly.
That definitely was. No, for me, I mean, I would have expected at least one of these 2 teams in the finals, but I definitely expected G2 to be the opponent.
The other, right.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a matter of whether or not it would be Gambit or Immortals making it to the finals.
Going into the event, I had G2 winning it.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, same here.
But I mean, even with my last prediction, I went against that just because of what I've been
just
seeing.
all over the place. Apparently.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, 2-1 Gambit. Worked out.
Screw it. It certainly did. Because, I mean, Gambit, we will have so much time to discuss them, so let's not get too carried away. But there is a lot of excitement surrounding these guys as of late. They just seem to be doing, I mean, it's 3 events back-to-back now where we've been impressed by what Gambit can do. It's becoming a recurring theme. We need to stop, I mean, I personally, and I'm sure a lot of people need to stop doubting them. I guess, I think it's because of the, this is a different class of Counter-Strike. You know, you have the showy stuff, and you have that word that echoes through Counter-Strike event halls, fundamentals, and they are masters of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also, you know, there's a genuine excitement for it every time you see it happen, because you're always afraid when you see a new contender come onto the scene that it's just going to be for that one tournament. It's going to be a flash in the pan. It's going to be one Cinderella story that, you know, almost made it, but not quite, and that's the end of that. You don't hear about them ever again. In that sense, they're never really true, you know, you're not really fighting for the top spots. But in Gambit's case, you know, they're continuously proving us wrong. So yeah, eventually everybody will stop looking at them as the Cinderella story or the surprise of the tournament, and just well, look at them as a solidified, you know, potential favorite.
Absolutely. Well, Gambit was surrounded by others in their group. It was, of course, Group A, where they hailed from. They had likes of Luminosity, who fell rather quickly. We had Heroic, Hellraisers, and this is how it shaped up to get them in that semi-final, now the grand final. We lost them very quickly. In fact, you know what? This is the group we didn't consider deathly. However, Heroic did put up quite the fight. Imagine how things could have changed if they didn't get that 2 best-of-1 walk into that grand final. And that's exactly where they are. You see Gambit, both teams that got those 2 best-of-1 wins are now standing in that grand final. This is where Immortals hailed from. Just a quick 16-11 versus Liquid and a quick 16-7 versus Cloud9. Felled the North Americans to the lower bracket. And here they stand now. Full 3 maps for both series. That's how you know you've had some good matchups in those semi-finals. And indeed they were. We'll be recapping them just in a moment. But Immortals, Gambit for a grand final. And I mean, there is a lot on the line. To set the scene, Gambit trying to lift a trophy. They've got so close before. In fact, Summit, a grand final. Now they find themselves back-to-back events. A couple of days later, another grand final, but the trophy still eludes them. Will it be now, or will Immortals find their second DreamHack Open trophy? Lots to be on the line in this next best of 3. But let's kind of quickly remind everyone how those semi-finals did shape up. Eric, we'll start with you in our first one. A full 3 maps, and I mean, Heroic. It was an intriguing kind of beast to try and get your head around. I know you personally, and I think a lot of people, are once again convinced, and we find ourselves saying a little more time. Is that the summary?
Yeah, I think a little more time to work on their map pool, because I think they, in the BO1 where they can ban out 3 maps, really get rid of their weak maps, maybe with the one strongest map for their opponent. But you saw here in the BO3s, they had to play maps that they weren't fully prepared on.
Yeah.
I think they tried hiding that a little bit, and they got away with it against Hellraisers on Inferno. But we saw later that Immortals was definitely the better team on that map.
Immortals, a team that there was a lot of excitement surrounding, actually very similar to Heroic. If you think about their kind of rise to power, how excitement surrounding them, then you kind of have to swallow your pride and get on the grind. I think that's what we're going to see next.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the case, and that's pretty much the story of every up-and-coming team. They have an initial spark on the scene, everybody gets super surprised, and then the better teams start looking into them, actually taking them seriously in that sense, and they go in a bit of a lull because all of a sudden things got a lot harder. Yeah. And then you see the true contenders, obviously the ones who really deserve to stay. They're the ones who fight back from that uphill battle.
What examples are springing to mind when you talk about that? I mean, for me, it was the North and previously Dignitas guys.
Yeah, definitely.
They've experienced that very same journey, right? Where you break in, holy moly, these guys are actually quite good, picked up by a big team, and then you have to have that drop off.
Yeah, and just imagine, consider the situation Dignitas, for instance, found themselves during MLG Columbus qualifiers. They come into that qualifiers as, basically it was just a given that they were going to qualify. They were going to pick up 3 wins, go back home, be happy.
Right.
Instead, end up not qualifying. It's just a massive disaster, and everyone thinks like, well, this is it. They're going to be that team that chokes. It's just, the Danish gene that kicks in. Yeah. And instead, they fight back from it, end up having a terrific end to 2016, and now obviously we know, where they are in North. Obviously one of the top tier teams in the world.
Truly are. And then on the other side of the coin, it's the Gambit conundrum, which we're trying to kind of get our head around. In their group, though, I mean, was there anyone else that stood out outside of Heroic? Or, I mean, what did we have? We had Luminosity, we had
Heroic.
Yeah.
Honestly, Luminosity was kind of disappointing. Then again, we do have to give them the benefit of the doubt, seeing how it was their first LAN event together.
Okay.
So I think that's fair to kind of look past that, and I don't think they're at the level of an Heroic or Hellraisers or obviously Gambit for that matter. Yeah. In any case, I think still they're a year away before they can start showing their real potential in that sense, similar to the same path that the Brazilian teams went through. Yeah. So yeah, no real like surprises, or at least positive surprises in that sense for me outside of Heroic and Gambit.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think Hellraisers had like just looking at the Heroic roster and the Hellraiser roster. Like, the Hellraiser roster just didn't have enough talent, I think. Just raw talent of just skill just to battle them.
Right. So if you give Hellraisers, I mean, what do we describe them as? Reminiscent of that of Flipside, a kind of Blade-ish squad.
Which is very weird considering you're talking about a team with Angel being the Ingame leader.
Right, which doesn't quite
compute. That doesn't compute at all, but it's very true because they are very much counting on each other to have success, right? And that's pretty much what Blade's team did. They were always relying on having that system to get people to be where they're supposed to be at any given time, and that's how you find success, rather than having 1 or 2 players carrying the load for you. Yeah. So and again, that's always been the issue with this Hellraisers lineup, that we don't necessarily have that bona fide star you can rely on when things get rough necessarily, and when then you have individual players not being able to step up to the plate, you oftentimes have lackluster results.
So, I mean, this just poses one question before we do kind of get into the nitty-gritty of our finals. Eric, I mean, this is going to be my last opportunity to start throwing questions your way. One of which is something I think is it does divide opinion, is, the reliance on a star player. We talk about star players all the time. It's a big port of call in analysis, and I wanted to know, do you believe it's necessary? The likes of Gambit perhaps would be regarded as a team that don't have it. Admittedly, Adrian's kind of blown that out of the water as of late. Hellraisers, another example. Heroic, perhaps. There's a couple that spring to mind. Do you need that star presence on a Counter-Strike roster to succeed?
100%.
You do. It has to happen.
I think you have to have a star player, but you can have a star player kind of like Coldzera, where he's absolutely consistent every single time, but he's not a star player just because of like how he's getting his frags. He's just so consistent, so smart, and he really relies on the team to actually be impactful. Yeah. And it's not just him running out, making the impact plays and doing all that stuff.
Within a system perfect.
He plays in the system, and he's still a star in the system.
Yeah.
Which I imagine is very difficult to do.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and again, you talk about, I think what happens with every team that eventually ascends into Tier 1 and becomes one of the top tier teams, they naturally have, you know, within the system that they've created and found success with, that brings out the, I guess, the inner star in certain players. Because normally you wouldn't look at, or, you know, if you go back a couple of months, you wouldn't look at Adrian as one of the top players in Europe for them, or the world. But the way he's been playing as of late, I think that's, you know, a given statement that he is playing like an absolute madman as of late. And that's because, you know, he's found his rhythm, has found his spot within the system that Zeus has implemented into Gambit, and that's why you're seeing him shine. So I think there's plenty of players who have that potential in them, but they're not in the right place in terms of don't have the right teammates, or not in the right team as of right now, or don't have the right leadership. And that's why you see them like all of a sudden erupting into the scene in that sense.
It is actually a huge, you know, compliment towards Zeus and what he's capable of as a leader, not only for what Gambit have done, but what, you know, he's
happened
done
on the counter into Navi.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's another example. Yeah, exactly. Like you see what's happened when you lose him and when you gain him. It's been phenomenal. And I do think, you know, from one in-game leader to another, you don't get to hear the comms. You certainly, if you could, you still couldn't understand them. But I mean, you just have to look at the results. There's no other way to be able to appreciate good leadership.
Yeah, you can't really tell how much an IGL is really
It's frustrating. Is it frustrating to you? Not being able for others not be able to realize what you're doing?
Kind of, yeah, because you don't really know. Yeah, I mean, you just don't know what's happening within a team, who should be getting that success. But I mean, you just have to, the players have to appreciate that and you know, just take that, because you don't see it through stats.
It's just not visualized for you.
I think that's why you see a lot of times when a player talk about other players, you see again, people having a very different opinion from what maybe community fans have, because they know the inner workings of what a person has brought to the team. And if they have, you know, played in a team with a certain in-game leader in the past, they'll know what they actually do for others on their side to actually make sure they perform at their best level.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to see where this where the buck stops for Gambit. Yeah. And people have already, you know, we're starting to see that there is a lot of stock to be put in making a roster change, and indeed Zeus is a prime example of that, really reinvigorating the Gambit boys. We're just steps away from diving into our grand final discussion. One final point where I can pick your brain, though, Adrian, is about the power of these underperformances. Just because, given the loss of 2 North American teams in the group stages, I just want to make sure we can cover this space and how they process that. I mean, Cloud9 and Liquid are representing North America, Optic not present, and so it's down to them. How much stock do you put in the weight on your shoulders for representing your region like that? I mean, Liquid and Cloud9 both getting knocked out. Is that loss going to hit them hard? You know these better than I.
No, I don't think it'll hit them hard, because I think they're going to have a lot more opportunities in the future.
Yeah. So
they're just going to take this as a learning lesson to just try to improve, because there's going to be the next event shortly hereafter. I'm sure there will be. So you just got to take it as a learning lesson. I don't think there's any more pressure to be like representing your country, so to speak. I think you're just, I mean, you're always gunning to be like #1 in NA, I think, but I don't think it adds any more pressure.
However, you're nodding. I guess you're in agreement there. There's no additional pressure trying to be. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like NACS was a joke, and now that it's really broken into the top of the competitive scene, and now there's a bit more of a war.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that you always have that war within the country. I think that regardless of what region you're from or what country you're from, you're always going to have that fight. Fight for being #1, because not only bragging rights actually matter. Yeah. In that sense, you want to have that edge on your opponents, right? And that's always going to come into play, but. Unless you're playing a national tournament, when, let's say, both Liquid and Cloud9 enter a tournament in Europe or wherever where there's international competition, I don't think they necessarily think that, we got America on our back, and that's why we need to do it.
Absolutely.
To them, I think that it's more like, Liquid is in this tournament the same as we are, so we need to do better than them. That's really the only mindset they have.
Some internal competition, for sure.
But I think that's just healthy. That that's going to promote more hard work, and the fact that they have to dedicate themselves to get better.
They do, an improvement they must, because they're certainly not present in this grand final. The 2 teams that are, though, are Immortals and Gambit, and we're just going to go ahead and take a couple of minutes to remind ourselves exactly how they got to this grand final stage.
I think the semi-final was the biggest challenge. I mean, to play against Europeans was really hard for us, because we are used to play with North Americans, so they have a different style, they are more aggressive. So this was the biggest challenge.
Try to bring it back, and he's got down the, can he finish this off? Yes, he can! FNX!
I think we have a lot of chance, because we practiced it versus Immortals, and we won a lot of time. we have a lot of power. We feeling it, and we're gonna win.
However, Doja over here in the vents, Ember gets 2. This is a 2-on-5 situation. Is that what we're talking about? Doja with the 4K and the wall back off to finish it off.
When we are playing like with confidence, we play like really different. We are more aggressive. So I think mental strength is the key to win the tournament.
To win this final, we should play as team. That's it. I think it's gonna be a very nice, great match, and good luck.
I wish them bad luck, man. Good luck for me, because it's gonna be one hell of a final, and I'm sure I have like good chance to win this tournament.
Ladies and gentlemen of Austin, who's ready for this grand final? Thank you so much. I can feel the energy. I love it. Please welcome to the stage our 2 finalists, Team Gambit and the Immortals. I'm going to be speaking to Adrian and Zach. Very quickly, what is going through your heads before this final?
Nothing.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, Adrian. And Zach, what about you?
I was sleeping actually, so nothing at all.
Fantastic. So we've got 2 people without anything to say right now, but do you have anything to say to each other?
Good luck. Good luck, my friend. Good luck.
There we go. Shake your hands. Oh, shake your hands and head to your teams. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this final. It is going to be absolutely explosive.
Oh, like trying to get milk from a stone there, Parla. Desperately trying to get something ahead of this grand final. I don't blame them. Getting into that mindset can be difficult. You want to be shaken by any of that bad-mouthing from your opponents.
That's true. Don't let them get into your head. Like Ross would say, unagi. Right? Yeah, it's important to have.
Isn't unagi...
Eel.
Okay. I thought unagi was like that thing that has flavor. Never mind. Someone help me out here on Twitter. There is a thing called unami. Umami?
That could very well be.
God knows, I'm probably naming some weird hentai.
Oh, God. Let's not go down that path.
Counter-Strike. Hey, we're back. And this is when we can focus a little bit on what they said in that video. I like the Hobbit's like, good luck, everybody. Have fun. And Steel's like, I hope they fail. I hope they mess up.
That's honest, at least. Like, Steel has been very straightforward in all of his interviews. It's like, I want to win, so like, why would I wish them good luck?
And there was there was quite a juxtaposition between the 2. I love, you compare it, you got like kind of that Brazilian flair, a big theme of confidence in how they're going to get that win, and then you just have Gambit, which is just solidarity, teamwork, and we have to play as a unit. In my mind, it's the Brazilians are all focusing on themselves. We know what we have to do as a team, but I need to hit my shots. And Gambit just sitting there like in a little huddle singing Kumbaya. Like,
Unity.
Roasting marshmallows and hanging out together.
That does sound lovely, though.
There they are, though. The Boy Scouts themselves, Dosia, Hobbit, Zeus, Mo, and Adren. I'm just going to annoy you now by saying it correctly for him.
I mean, what's good about Gambit's win over G2 there is that Adren didn't like completely stand out, so you know that they can still get results against a team like G2, and Adren doesn't have to completely carry them.
Yeah, actually, it was really good to see Doja have such a good series as he did, because I feel like more often than not we've seen more out of Hobbit and Adren as over the last couple of months than we have from Doja. And I mean, it's fair because it's still been working. Gambit's still been picking up W's. They've been going far in tournaments, so it's not like he's a detriment to the team. But if you go back to 2013, Doja was like the best player in the world. So exactly, like everybody wanted to be him. Well, they still do, but he was just a monster on the server as well. So the more you can see glimpses of him doing the same kind of thing, obviously the better Gambit are going to be as a team. You just add so much more firepower to a team that's already really, really explosive.
Yeah, I see like Zeus and Doja as like the rock players.
Yeah.
And then you have their newer players that are obviously more talented, I think. and are going to really take over the rounds.
But I can't help but draw parallels between kind of Zeus and perhaps Taz. You know, when the going gets tough, he does seem to find that alternate level. I mean, you know, he may have like 8 frags in 10 rounds, or excuse me, in the entire half, and then.
But those 8 frags could have been really important.
Exactly.
Like, I think Daze actually, he probably mentioned this during the broadcast as well. But he's, we're constantly talking about it in the green room, the fact that Zeus is this kind of guy that on CT sides, for instance, he's always going to get that 1 kill. Always. Right. He's always going to trade out. Like, he never messes up in that sense to the point where he just leaves his team completely flat. And, you know, it might not look amazing on the stat sheet necessarily, but that could be just what they need in every single round to allow a rotation to come through, or you know, just to buy that extra bit of time for his teammate playing close to him. And that's really all you want out of Suze, really, because obviously the main advantage of having him in the team is what he implements as a whole, not necessarily what he brings as an individual player, but he can still do that as well.
There is no I in team, but there is in Immortals. They want to focus on themselves, bring that Brazilian flair, and try and show us exactly what happens when confidence and the wind is beneath their wings. Steel, Henny, Bolts, FNX, and Lucas. New edition FNX has proven time and time again to be a force to be reckoned with on this roster. You know what's interesting is that they find themselves in a grand finals sans Phelps. You know, that he was always a big discussion topic when we came into like their roster. As soon as that graphic pops up, Phelps was like our first discussion, and he's gone. They're still here.
Well, yeah, but I think it's fair. You have to consider that in a sense, Phelps went to greener pastures.
Oh, absolutely.
So no, but again, it's not like it's one of those trades where you have between 2 teams where neither team necessarily got a lot worse, I think, or like over the long term, I think it's going to be beneficial for Immortals to get a player like FNX because it's just so well-rounded. He can do anything for your team. You would have been afraid that they lost a lot of firepower with losing Phelps, but FNX is still doing a really, really good job of opening fragger for Immortals, and he's, you know, you could still tell that he has a ton of skill that you didn't necessarily see showcased on SK, but he's still able to bring it. And
while he is on your screens, he's a very interesting character within, you know, the Counter-Strike, specifically the South American Counter-Strike scene. He was like, you know, I don't know if I want to go competitive again. I'm kind of chilling. I'm enjoying my time away from the game. Fallen's like, dude, you're really quite good. Can you come hang out? Please pick up the mouse and keyboard again. He does, and he still finds himself on grand final stages after this rocky adventure he has been on. Henny looking like he is
lounging. Just taking a page out of JDM's book. Seems like Henny's been playing pretty well. Actually, he's been like fairly consistent actually this tournament so far, which is a promising sign for Immortals. You know, unless that means that this finals is going to be an absolute nightmare for him. But no, he's been doing really well for himself, and I think that's important for Immortals to have that offer to kind of fall back on, especially, you know, when we get into the maps. I'm assuming we're going to see Inferno being played because I don't think Gambit are going to be afraid of Gambit are going to be afraid of Immortals on that map.
So why the cash ban? That's just Zeus targeting Immortal strengths.
Yeah, and they're going to do this because they know that Mirage, which is normally their ban pick, is
not a strength for Immortals.
Exactly. So I think they're playing a bit of cat and mouse, but I think this is a smarter choice from Immortals, actually. Getting rid of Nuke as quick as possible because they don't play it at all. It's normally their go-to veto. So they just want to get that out of the way so there's no opportunity, because I feel like that's pretty much a guaranteed win for Gambit if they're allowed to have that map.
I think these are the 2 picks that we thought. Train, and then I think in here is Inferno.
Yeah, that would make sense actually to see. Yep, and there you go. So
I mean, why not? You're 3-0.
Yeah,
it's feeling good.
Yeah, no, and you definitely, and you have all the reason to do so as well. But I think it's going to be by far their toughest task actually to go up against Gambit here on Inferno. That's going to be really cool to see how it pans out. And now we see the Mirage ban coming in from Gambit. They don't want to let that go through all to the end. So we're left with Overpass and Cobble. I think it's going to be end up on Cobble.
Dude, that would be quite the third
That would be a perfect,
it?
It's going to be that as well. That's actually like a perfect map pool, honestly, considering. I think it's too obvious for Gambit to do anything but pick Train. Like, they have to pick Train. It's such a decent map for them. It's a map that Immortals don't necessarily play all that much anymore. So, you know, that's where you find the biggest advantage in the map veto, really, if you're Gambit and on a crowd not liking their ball being taken away.
Oh, is that what that was?
So Cobble is actually, Immortals' the #1 played map. I think they have it like 20 plus times on that map in recent times.
Funnily enough, it's the same thing for Gambit as well. Like, statistically, this is the best map for both teams going into a third map. But I will say that that's one of this is why I'm leaning slightly towards Gambit, is because I feel like when you take both of these teams' best map, I think Gambit comes out a little bit ahead on both of them. I think Gambit should be stronger on Immortals. And I think, well, you know, what Heroic mentioned after they went out on Cobble versus Immortals, versus the fact that they knew what they were doing constantly, because Immortals doesn't really change up a lot of their T-side on Cobble. They're just really effective about the couple things they do. So Heroic were like, yeah, we know what they're doing, but we just couldn't stop it. I think Gambit are going to be in a good position to actually stop that.
Yeah, Immortals on Cobble, they're similar to SK. I remember watching SK a long time ago when I was trying to anti-strat them on Liquid, is that they go B 90% of the time. SK does.
They love that.
And Immortals does the same thing. They barely touch A. And if Gambit can somehow abuse that with either just leaving one A, maybe flanking more often, or just trying to really, you know, put a wrench in that B execute, that actually is pretty damn good. It
is really good, and they do things a little bit differently than other teams. Normally you'd see maybe like one guy being sent up like through a smoke to see if he can find an open pick. Immortals are happy to commit both Lucas and Steel for that. It doesn't even matter. They'll go through, they'll see if one guy dies, well, that just means it's a big opportunity for either, you know, the one surviving to find at least that return frag and then potentially find another opening as the rotation is happening. And while all of that chaos is happening, they usually have FNX posted up towards drop, where he's extremely patient, and whenever things go awry because of a big over-rotation from the CTs over towards that plateau area, FNX is usually super good at taking advantage of the space that's given to him in drop.
I mean, fortunately, we will have plenty more time to expand upon this and perhaps repeat this coming into Cobble when we get there. My watch has just fallen off mid-gesticulation. That's impressive. It's prediction time. That's what we need to kind of get underway now. Do you want to do it for a series or do you want to do it for a map? I think we'll probably do it for the series.
You want to do it for a series? Even though we're coming back?
Yeah, we should do a series.
I want to commit, so otherwise you're going to chicken out.
It gets a little,
It gets a bit iffy. So, I mean, we'll work our way down from me. I think we're going to be seeing Gambit take this one. I believe we get that juicy Inferno, gets like 16-14 Immortals, just get over the line, and then we get an awesome Cobblestone, like quadruple mega overtime. Gambit win. That's my call. Yeah,
I'm going to join Machine's train. It's a solid logic right there, and I think it's either going to be a 2-0 for Gambit, with Gambit actually, you know, showing that they are the better Inferno team, or we're going to see a really, really good third map.
I'm really crossing my fingers and toes.
I'm hoping for the same.
Cobble. Yeah. Well, how about you, Eric?
One thing I want to say about Immortals is I always thought they were a team that kind of doesn't play the best under like the most pressure situations.
Right.
I mean, with FNX in the roster now, I think that helps him a little bit because I think he is like one of the best pressure players. Like, obviously, you can see that by how well he's in clutches.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that'll affect them or not here. I mean, this isn't one of the biggest events of the year, but
for them,
they are in the finals. Yeah,
exactly.
This might be a big thing for them to win this, and they might be really, that pressure might, you know, have them crumble. So I'm going to go 2-0 Gambit.
2-0, okay. Wow, not a single for the Immortals. They've looked so good so far. Of course, they have already got a lot of their wins on Inferno. It does crop up again in the grand finals. We'll see if they can complete that streak when we get to it. But our first map will be Gambit's choice, and it will be Train. Now, your caster's choice is yet to be determined. It's, of course, Blue and Daze to be the voices filling the Austin Convention Center in this grand final. Gentlemen, I like the synced shirts. I like it a lot. That's some synergy. Respect it.
Just realized it, yeah. They were like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
I think we got the same shoes on, too.
Oh,
nice.
Can we see them? Can we whip them out?
No, well, I mean, I know for a fact that Daze is not flexible enough to get his leg on that desk.
I want a crep check. I wanted a crep check. I'm furious. Okay, fine. We won't look at your shoes, but we will look at your predictions, gents. Not a single for Immortals so far.
I'm actually a believer in Immortals. I think it'll go 3 maps, and I think they'll end up taking it on Cobble.
America, the crowd likes that.
Yeah, I do think Gambit's going to win on Train, even though their T-side was really shaky against G2. You know, they won the pistol, they only ended up with 5 rounds, and I didn't really like the way they tried to win it, but I don't think Immortals is like the best Train team. And then I think Inferno, Immortals is heavy favorites there, and I think it's going to go to Cobble, and I think Immortals, like you guys said, you know, strategically they go B like all the time and stuff, but I don't know if Gambit's going to know that. You know, so if you play against them a bunch of times, yeah, you would know that, but I don't think Gambit's going to, like, just, you know, after not really playing them much, just have that idea.
Ever, yeah.
Blue, you siding with your sync shirt pal?
Actually, no, I'm going to go the other direction. I'm actually favoring Gambit for this one, just like you guys, so I'm going to throw my bid that way.
I love it. The crowd is like 50-50. Okay, well, the crowd have made it clear that they have got 50% for Gambit, 50% for Immortals. That does mean you guys are going to have a whole lot of fun casting this one. Enjoy the first map.
All right, thank you very much, Machine. We are getting ready to jump into Train now, ladies and gentlemen, so make some noise, as it's almost time to start this grand final. Before we get to it, though, Daze, let's get your initial thoughts going into it.
Well, for Gambit, the player to watch for me is definitely Adren. This guy has just been an animal throughout the tournament. A little bit lackluster performance against G2. Wasn't nearly as impactful, but like Eric said on the analyst desk, they're still able to come out with the win despite Adren not playing his best. But he has the capability to completely take over a game like we saw earlier in this tournament, and he really is the guy to watch and the man on Gambit. And if he plays anything like he has earlier on in the tournament, like Gambit will probably definitely win this game. I just think that Immortals as a whole, I think Henny has improved so much. I think Lucas has improved so much, like especially the twins. Bolts is one of those guys too where he's so consistent. He never misses that first kill. And I think that's going to be really problematic for Gambit on their T side, because Bolts plays usually the most important spots. He's that first line of contact. He always makes it 4v5. Sometimes he gets traded, yeah, but he's just a pillar of consistency over there for Immortals.
Now we saw the analysts discuss the entire set, of course, with our predictions. We didn't get too much into how we're feeling for this map. Do we feel that this one's going to swing more towards Gambit or more towards an Immortals-centric one?
So I think this is definitely Gambit-sided on Train, and this is their map pick. Immortals, I don't think is the best Train team, but I definitely think they could win this map. I just think they're, Gambit is pretty much heavy favorites. But while watching Gambit versus G2, the way they were playing that T side, it did not inspire too much confidence in me. It was a lot of things that they were just trying to brute forcing. G2 had a pretty good CT side for them. Remember, Gambit, like I said, they won the pistol round, they won the following 2, I believe, and then they only ended up winning 2 rounds later on in that half. And the way they won the rounds wasn't like strategic or anything like that. It was just kind of, a brute force type strat, ended up winning trade kills and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again here, guys, we are just waiting for those players to get readied up, and then we should be good to jump into that map. So just waiting on them is what is delaying us at this point. All 3 maps to be played out here, and of course, $100,000 on the line, as per usual here at the DreamHack Astro Open. So there's going to be a lot of money on the line, and for Gambit, it would be a second DreamHack title as well, if memory serves me correctly. The last one they won being back over at Winter towards the end of last year.
Yeah, and when we look at Train, right? So this is kind of how I feel about it. Train, I think Gambit's favorites, maybe 8 out of 10 times they'll beat Immortals. But Inferno, I really like the way Immortals plays Inferno. I think they're going to be tough to beat, and I think they're going to take that map. And then going to Cobble, I think it's going to be more 50-50. So I just slightly lean Immortals. I just think their players have improved so much, like I said, and now that they have FNX, who's just insane. I mean, let's be real.
Absolutely.
Just so much firepower and so much big play potential on their team. Like, Henny is one of the best operators in the world when it comes to like him and Kenny S. I feel like have the most big play potential, where they're just in a ridiculous spot and they just end up with like these crazy 4Ks just out of nowhere. And then same with Lucas, like especially with Deagles, his Deagle is just incredible. A lot of big play potential there, and of course FNX.
Yeah, and you talk about how much improved Lucas had been. He had been a very sort of hit or miss player. When you look towards the end of last year, around there, he was kind of showing up in some matches, but not necessarily being present in others. But as of this recent run of the league season and whatnot, we've seen a lot of improvements for him, and he's turned into one of the more consistent players for this team.
Yeah, and he's really consistent, and he's in the toughest roles in my opinion for Immortals. I think the spots he plays on CT side and a lot of his roles on T side are some of the most difficult roles to be successful in, and I think he does a great job of it.
Well, guys, it is time to jump into it now here. We're going into our first map. It's going to be Train, and Immortals will be starting off on the CT side with Gambit jumping onto the offense. Let's get directly into the pistol round and see who's going to edge out with the first advantage. Early split from Gambit. It's going to send their players 3-2 across the map. A large span of them working their way over there to the back of the B-bomb site, but a few more also in Ivy. But you'll note the bomb is being kept right outside of T-Con. So we're probably going to see this formation change up a little bit before it actually leads itself into one of the 2 sites, with Zeus now falling back to probably retrieve that. The Ivy guys already getting themselves into a little bit of a battle. Hobbit trying to fight it, but can't do it. Henny strikes with the first kill back outside of Ivy, taking down Hobbit.
Yeah, when you're Ivy posted like that, you could see the player coming from the left side from a T's perspective, but if he comes from the right, he actually has a huge advantage. He's going to see your arm well before you see him, so that was really smart by Henny to actually take that angle.
Now giving them a little bit of an edge here as they are going to look to more than likely just deploy pretty straightforward into the outer bomb site now. 2 out T-Con, Doja and Mal will try to deploy over from Ivy and the ladder room respectively. The what to the T-Con players get close up before they do that though, and now moving back in. Adrian with that first pickup, Doja finding a second, but FNX is holding on nicely here, finding both Adrian and Zeus to knock them out. Still, we've yet to see that Ivy player actually push back in, and now it's just that Ivy player. Down to Doja, who's picked up a first kill, but he's got 2 more to go before he can win this one back out, and it's not going to happen. FNX shuts it down, so the Immortals will take the edge here.
Yeah, FNX with a nice 3K. I think Gambit got that round a little bit closer than I thought it was. That player coming through the 5-6 smoke, he goes straight through the smoke. The flashbang actually missed at I think it was camera, and Adren able to get a kill despite that. But Immortals going to take the pistol round. We're going to see not even really a force buy by Gambit, just going to try to get the bomb down to inner, probably flood out lower and upper together and just try to force that plant.
Yeah, they've got that big group going together, so definitely the inner flood more than likely. Bolts is going to be close to challenge that right from the get-go, however, with the UMP. And he's probably going to have Lucas coming to assist him as well. Bolts with the nade in hand, ready to deploy this at a moment's notice here, but peeking into it, does miss the initial peek, and the nade's not really going to do a whole lot. Still, though, spotting that big push of players, and essentially everyone from Immortals in a moment here is probably going to start that rotate back in. With smokes being deployed out, the molly will counteract that. FNX not biting on the full rotate inside just yet, but more smokes get in the way here now, and Gambit obviously don't really have the utility to be able to push past this now. They'll move their way out, and it's just going to be utter destruction by the Immortals. Quick 5 kills for them, and not even getting close to a trade.
I actually really like that from Gambit, though. I mean, they kind of forced it through the smoke, and Immortals had 2 players there. But if you think about it, if they get the bomb down there, they buy 3rd round, right? As we are going to have a pause come out. But they're going to buy 3rd round, right? So they save, and you usually can get the bomb down inner, and they think that you're probably Tech 9 armor, right? So they're probably not going to push up lower ramp or anything like that. Why would you want to take a close range gun battle, right? So you're going to spot, and you're going to play for, a lot of the time even M4 and play retake against Tech 9s. So you could, just get a smoke and a flash and try to flood and get bomb down, just get that 1 kill, get bomb down, and then still buy the 3rd round, because most likely the CTs aren't going to be playing super aggressive.
Just a quick pause, though, folks. They're already back into the game here now, and Gambit is going to be having themselves that buy here into the 3rd round. It's an interesting one, too. Doja getting himself the AK, but everybody else either getting just P250s or Tech 9 armor purchases here. So we'll see what Doja is going to be able to do with that heavier purchase. The rest of the team kind of lagging behind a little bit there, and still very little utility. So I'm curious as to what the overall plan is going to be. And at the moment, looks very similar to what we did see back in the 2nd round. Everybody just deploying very early over here to the ramp and grouping up in these back B halls for a potential deployment outside.
Yeah, and you're going to see Bolts do that almost every round. Just spot at the lower ramp. If you see someone, you can toss a molly or whatever.
It looks like now, after ramp didn't really work out for them due to the amount of smokes they had to go up against, they are going to try to swing back out from upper. Lucas able to spot that first player and causes a trend to kill himself. But Doja responding in kind, taking out Lucas and just picking these players off from range. He's almost eliminated FNX as well. Unfortunately, more players from Immortals still sit within the bomb site. This is going to be Bolts hanging out now, securing the bomb, but he misses behind him. However, the shots aren't hitting quickly enough. Steel is going to be able to bail out his teammate, but only for a short period of time. And Doja continues to wreak havoc now, pushing forward. He's knocked out Henny. Brought this down to a 2v2. Steel's still present, however, close to the bomb train, and Mo being cornered himself out. He tries to swing in looking for that kill on Steel, but he's not going to find it. And Immortals will pick up another round here.
Yeah, and their strat was basically, I know this guy's going to be jiggle peeking the lower ramp. Let's see if we can get that kill on him. Doja does a great job at upper, just doing a ton of damage, getting those 2 kills, getting pushed up, and at least getting the bomb down. And it was a strange, economical buy for Gambit, so they're still going to be able to buy this round. They definitely didn't spend all their money or anything like that. Just a couple pistol armors, the AK armor on Doja, just try to hurt their economy a bit. And they basically get a full buy here.
Yeah, they're still going to be able to go into it. Doja, obviously, because he purchases the AK last round, doesn't get himself utility for this round, but still having enough definitely to make, your usual type of execution or whatever. They may be a little bit light in post-plant here, but Immortals using a whole lot right at the beginning of the round. Lucas and FNX both just emptying themselves out here. So most of the utility going to come from the other 3 players on the roster now due to that. Gambit early on, though, pretty much the same style of lineup as we send a lot of their players back, but Hobbit just makes a move right at the beginning here and is able to find Bolts out early this time.
Yeah, and that's something that Gambit has picked up on, that Bolts does that every single round. And, you know, that time Bolt's getting punished. So we'll see what he does now. That's a really powerful tool to take away from the CTs.
It's Doja that's going to move in again, looking for the first entry out of upper here. But also, the ramp pressure is going to move out at the same time. FNX is able to catch Doja after he jumps down from the ladder. 2 more trades, though, and that's Gambit taking flooded control of this of the B bomb site here. We're not even really going to be able to see the Immortals players rotate back in. A smoke comes back out, but Mo just hits the last 2 shots back to back. And there you go. Gambit now claim the first gun round.
Yeah, and Steel, we're probably going to see him drop a gun, for Immortals, but they don't have the best buy here. You know, they're going to have an AWP, 2 M4s, a couple UMP, or maybe an UMP and a pistol. And I don't know, that was a really interesting economical strategy from Gambit, where you kind of lightly buy in the 3rd round, you full save in the 2nd round to try to get the bomb down, and then you still buy in the 4th round, even if you lose that 3rd round.
Yeah, it seemed to work out pretty well for them, though, because they do that decent damage in that round as well, and now look at Immortals' buy here. Like, they still get, you know, rifles and UMPs for the most part, but now utility, after they use what they already have, is going to be pretty light, and they'll be on the brink of being broken more than likely because of this round. Henny, nice shot, of course, and jumping out over into the short lane, but Doja still hits the shot a little bit better and is going to be able to take him out, putting that down to a 5v4 early on. Now the rest of Gambit kind of spreading back out, but also moving in very quickly towards inner here. Bolts playing that close contact this time. Great trade from Mo, and 2 more kills are also found back-to-back, with Doja knocking out Steel and FNX finding another pickup. That brings us down to a 3v2 situation. Hobbit having a very advanced spot, which is going to make Z rotating very difficult to do for this reason, as you're going to see right here. Hobbit gets the easy lineup against Lucas, and now FNX alone probably not even going to attempt the retake, falling back to save now as his team's money is down in the dumps.
Yeah, so he's probably going to get the AWP right here from Henny at Hell. And yeah, Gambit's buying strategy really worked out because, like you said, I mean, that buy was, you know, nothing great from Immortals. And the reason that buy wasn't great because of that 3rd round, you know, Doja AK buy where they also got the bomb down and you know, ended up getting 3 kills.
Gambit's players are moving across the map to actually hunt down FNX, despite what is probably their own low utility here. FNX, though, is sitting in a good position, and I don't even think it's going to be physically possible for them to get close enough to hunt him down, so he'll escape the round without even risk of losing out there. But Gambit carrying through, winning out that round will obviously have the op for FNX, but that's going to be pretty much it now. The rest of Immortals are going to be completely broken and on a full save here.
Yeah, and if I'm Immortals here, I probably just try to stack around the AWP and just try to save it no matter what, because then you could still buy the next round and have a good round with Henny backing you up with that AWP. FNX is going to keep it this round, though. So we'll see if he can make it 4v5 and make this a manageable situations for Immortals. But if he doesn't find impact early, you know, getting an early pick, it's going to be pretty tough for them to win this round.
FNX is going to find himself in an aggressive but relatively good position to impact early on. The flashbang does mess him up, though, and he's forced to fall back again, though, trying to test his luck with these shots. And he almost seemed like he hit that one, but not going to line up just as of yet. And for Gambit now flooding into the site, taking control. Some of these CTs are trying to push forward. You can see Lucas in the midst of this one, but just not able to get anything done. And now the op has gone down at the hands of Mo. Lucas does sneak in 1 kill, but it's very quickly traded back out by Zeus. And Steel just gets denied on the last kill by Mo. Nicely played. Gambit now tying this game up at 3-3.
And the game plan from Gambit so far is very impressive. I mean, they know they're going up against an AWP. You know, at best, around the AWP, they're just going to have pistol armor. So what do? They take the AWP completely out of the equation. They do a nice smoke wall. They're going to guarantee the plant pretty much. And as long as they don't die to those pistols, they're probably going to just put that AWP in a terrible situation. So they're just strategically speaking, Gambit playing very smart Counter-Strike right now.
Splitting up again, relatively straightforward split from these guys, as Gambit is going to pressure over towards Ivy early on, and they're going to have a lot of those guys back in the White Halls in the first couple of seconds of the round, but much more active defense being put up this time by the Immortals, but it doesn't seem to matter too much as Mo continuously keeps hitting these shots early on in the round. This time it's against Bolts, knocking him out early, once again back over by that ramp.
Yeah, that time Bolt's getting aggressive. I believe he threw the smoke at lower, and they felt like they needed to do something to give them an advantage this round. I mean, they just all have M4s. There's no AWP. There's not much utility on them. So he's trying to make it 4v5 so that they can just play standard after that.
Well, now we do have Gambit trying to go for another inner take here. Everybody's stacking up for it. Doja a little bit farther behind, but it's only one to defend in here. It's Lucas, and he's very far back, too, having to try and take some of these duels. That's some great damage, though, bringing a Dren down at 27 and Hobbit to 16 as well, really priming these players to allow for a bit of an easier retake. Finally meets his match, however, against Zeus without being able to pick up any kill. Here's the thing, though. You can see it. Henny lurking back in is going to line this up. He almost loses that, though, as his aim is not right on the head initially here. Now Zeus continues to trade those kills back, and although Henny is this position, he's not going to be able to act upon it. It's still way too risky now. FNX just can't really get into a good position either, so they're going to fall back and save once more.
Yeah, and I don't think they really had a chance that round anyways. They didn't have a kit. Mo's going to be opping Pop Dog or lower ramp, so your entire rotate can't even really come from Z, right? You have to go towards CT spawn since he's just locking that down, and it just takes so long at that point, right? Unless Lucas gets 2 there on the cross, which again, I mean, you know, your AK versus M4 long range, you're probably going to get traded if you fight too long. Just not much of a chance for Immortals to win that round.
Yeah, and after the loss of those players, it does leave them into another sort of scrap by here. Not going to be too bad, though, however. Able to get a decent amount of rifles and UMPs overall, along with utility here. So managing to make it work off of those saves. What's going to be the real danger point here is letting this continue for too many more rounds, as we already have Gambit stacking up a very aggressive economy with players over 10K in post-buy. When you look at guys like Mo at this point, who has been really consistent with hitting his shots, and not only that, but surviving through the rounds as well to build up that money even more so.
Yeah, that time Boltz really actually countered exactly what got him killed last time. He timed it perfectly with that nade, puts a Dren and Doja down a bit.
And now we're going to see them go for the entries over here at upper. Lucas able to hold off for 1. Unfortunately, they lose Boltz further back. Lucas tries to adjust to watch out for ramp pressure, but fails in the first duel there. Zeus going to take him out, and now we wait for the rotates to roll in from the Immortals to try and retake this back. They're not really going to have great positioning to make this happen again. Mo's got the advanced position up on top of Pop Dog, watching out for Z push. He does destack from this because Steel got past him, and is now going to slowly be pushing over here for upper control, but there's a smoke in the way. He's not able to immediately spot the T presence at upper. Just going to have to try and toss an 8 in, see if he can find any damage with that, and he doesn't even get a significant amount. What's even worse now is Hobbit striking goes down, but thankfully Gambit are still here, and both Adrian and Mo going to be able to trade both of those kills back. It's just Steel now, and once again, no choice but to fall back and save and let Gambit pick up a 5th.
Yeah, the Morals they really got hurt because they don't have that op, and Gambit knows that. So what do? They take advantage of it, and they go out upper inner, pretty much dry, while they go out lower at the same time. Obviously, if there's an op playing rotate and Henny's there, and he's either Z or back lanes posted on upper, that's just free kills for him. But the lack of an op, the lack of that op presence, Gambit realizes that. They know what the economic situation is like, and they take advantage of it really well just from a strategic standpoint.
Timeout is going to be called here now by the Immortals, losing out pretty much straightforward ever since we saw them pick up the pistol round in the first few after that. They've yet to actually pick up a gun round here so far. So we are going to be putting them into a situation where, in theory, they could once more buy here. About 3,500 for most of their players. They could try to make something out of this, and Gambit continues to build up, however, and they're sitting on a nice amount of money to work with. 5.4K at its lowest, 13,000 at its highest across the scoreboard for those players. So this is even really going to be worth it to go for it in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm them, I might just get a couple pistol half armors probably, let Henny save it for an op, give yourself a chance to win this round, but then also definitely buy the next round. Because I'm telling you, the lack of op presence right now from Immortals is really hurting them. Gambit taking advantage of that. I just really like the way Gambit's played this T side, though. This is not something you see very often. With how they purchase, trying to get the bomb down second round, and then buying up just a little bit on third round, hurting their economy enough so that when you win that fourth round, all of a sudden, after winning the third round, or excuse me, when you win that fourth round, you put them on a very low buy. This is like really interesting stuff from Gambit, and I mean, it's working great right now.
In most situations, if you just go around the normal buying pattern that we're used to in the meta, that fifth round there they have to deal with the CTs having the advantage is going to be like another fully bought gun round, especially if they crush the anti-ecos. But in this case, it was like a few umps for in the buy there, and really low utility for basically every player. So it was really
Lucas
drastic.
Was down to a deke.
It was a really good setup from Gambit, and the plan that they had there to bring the AK into the fray, and it worked flawlessly for them. So now we are going to see Gambit back into the buy this time, and Immortals just basically half buying here for a lot of their players. Doja already striking first off with a kill into FNX. A few of them with the rifle in hand. Steel, this is the only one actually I should say with the rifle in hand. Gonna be playing close up a T-Con, tries to push in, and while one did have a nade out, Adrian was ready with the AK in hand, so he's able to respond to it. Mo and Adrian picking up those 2 more kills. It's just gonna be bolts now, and it should be an easy 6th round for Gambit.
Yeah, and their money is just absurd right now. We're going to have almost their entire team hovering around that 8 to 10K mark. So Gambit is in no, real danger of being in like any type of a save round anytime soon. I mean, Mo right now is basically maxed out.
Yeah.
So if I'm Immortals right now, what I say is, if I'm Bolts, I say, look, just post up on lower ramp, Henny. They're challenging me every time. They know what I'm doing. We could punish this, you know, if you just stay there. I need you to opt that guy when he peeks me to kind of, you know, make it so I can start jiggle peeking that again and get that information.
Well, into this next gun round, we will go with the up in hand this time. And he is going to be trying to challenge for upper a little bit. Pushes all the way in, actually, and takes massive damage from it. Down to 29 HP. Doesn't even spot anything either. Ooh, and FNX trying to make an aggressive move inside of the ladder room. Punished out by Hobbit. It's basically two huge early advantages going by the way of Gambit here. Doja is going to be caught out by Steel, though, as he also tries to make a move, and this time it pans out. The problem is no pressure at Ivy, so Adrian was allowed to push all the way up the short lane for free, but thankfully Bolts is there, ready to defend it. He picks up that kill onto Adrian, and Mo trying to bring it back around also falters, this time against Lucas going down. Only 2 remaining here for Gambit now. The only advantage that they do have is the timer. A minute remaining on the clock, but they can't even now rotate over towards B with Hobbit getting free control of it. The bomb is kind of stuck over in the A bomb site. Trying to go back to T-Con, he'd run directly into Steel. Trying to go through Z obviously is not really an option. He could attempt to swing through the back line over here where Henny's hanging out, but even that's not going to be safe. And I think that's what Hobbit's trying to do now is sort of clear that out so maybe they can send the bomb in that direction. And Henny will indeed go down to Hobbit. This will open up the possibility for Zeus to push forward, but he still has to battle against Bolts. Can't get it done. Bolts even takes the duel versus that last player and finally puts a gun round on the board for the Immortals.
Yeah, and that was pretty cool by Steel. One of the plays I want to point out is what he did is they threw the smoke at the end of Ivy so that they could creep up. And a lot of the time when you see that smoke, you smoke in the middle of Ivy by the server, but by the time you push through their smoke, the person could be past your smoke and then kill you. So he smokes very close to the smoke that they threw at the end, and then he was able to kill Doja while he pushes through his smoke.
Catches there's like a little bit of a gap in the middle of it, essentially, and he's able to use that for it very well. Now look at the Immortals swinging right in here. Lucas and Steel destroy both Mo and Hobbit, and what's even better is that they get the bomb onto the ground because of this one, so they have no choice but to try and battle back. For this, the good news for Gambit is that it's not actually going to be challenged. They'll let them get the bomb back in hand, as Adrian's going to be able to walk into it for free, but Immortals gaining yet another advantage back over by Ivy, as we see an additional kill picked up, leaving just Adrian and Zeus alive to somehow try and clutch this out 2v5. Swift turnaround for Immortals after this pause, as they are looking in control with these aggressive moves now.
Yeah, and they just do the jump up lower ramp as fast as you can, kill the players as they jump down from the upper side of the T area where you see all that blood, and the timing works out really well for a CT. And SK is the team that really made that popular. Fallen would do that with an op. You'd have Taco flash for him. When they need like a 4v5 round and they're low bot, a lot of time you'll see Taco do it with a Mag 7. And it's just a really good way to catch people off guard timing-wise.
Zeus is going to be able to surprise a little bit here by T-Con and open up a pathway for his team to maybe try and bring this back a bit. They have to delay it slightly, though, because of the molly against Adrian, but he can move out now, unfortunately. Immortals are already set up to stop this. Bolts being able to fight from further back, and Zeus is not having much luck either. With only 30 seconds remaining, it's looking likely now that he may just fall back and try to find a suitable position to save this AK, as this round is not going to happen, and we will be seeing a 5th round go up onto the boards for the Immortals.
Yeah, and Immortals really needs to get an op, in my opinion, in the hands of Henny, so that you could kind of stop a lot of this aggressive map control coming out from Gambit. Especially at the inner side. I mean, Gambit's been hitting inner, the majority of this half, especially early on. That's kind of what got them a lot of these rounds. And if you could have Henny there, maybe not go upper through that molly, but again, I think if he posts on lower ramp, I think he's going to get that kill and make it 4v5. A really good way as well to do it is if you actually dodge the flash, because a lot of the time they throw a flash and then they peek, and then you peek after that is really nice. That's how Device picks it. But in this case, you might just be able to post up because they're challenging Bolts right away.
Moving into the next gun round now. Gambit still, at the very least, having the potential to buy up for this round and probably having the capability to force into the next one if they want to. Players just still sitting around 3 to 5K-ish, depending on who you're looking at. And it's going to be quick this time from Gambit. No delay into the inner bomb site. Problem is Bolts has been really on point with these long-range sprays, and they even have a flank coming against them again. FNX able to pick one off from way over back in the box halls, and really only one trade against them so far with the elimination of Lucas. Hobbit had the potential to try and push forward and change it, but a great shot from Bolts sends that potential right back down into the dirt. And for FNX, he's going to try and complete this flank. Oh, though, who's been one of the shining stars so far for Gambit. It's going to be a tough player to try and break here now. So he's able to still keep himself alive, hiding from within that smoke and continuing to kind of jump off the ladder to mix things up a little bit. But finally, Steel from up on top is able to punish those final two using the smoke to his advantage. Picks up the double kill there at the end and solidifies the 6th round for the Immortals.
Yeah, Bolt's playing a complete retake. Doesn't want to get caught at lower ramp. I mean, that was Gambit's plan, right? You just catch him at lower ramp, maybe spotting. You swarm him very quick off that outside fake. But Bolt's played a retake setup, and the other big impact player of that round was actually FNX because he came up the ladder very quick. They didn't, account for anybody flanking that fast. He gets that kill, he stays alive, he completely stops Mo from, peeking any sort of CT player since he has to worry about that lower ramp flank.
You'll note the setup overall for the B site has changed away from that more aggressive stance where they tend to either push into it or hold very close to ramp, and instead now they're just keeping Bolts or whoever's in that site further back behind the trains.
Yeah, and it's a perfect counter to actually how Gambit has been taking the site. Because Gambit isn't doing full executes where they get a lot of smokes. They're doing very bursty executes where they maybe throw one smoke and one flash. So hey, you play retake, you get that one kill, and then you play it from a 4v5 standpoint.
So early on here now, Gambit is trying to mess around with outside again. 2 players by Ivy. I think they've got 2 or 1 of them sitting inside of the T-Con as well, with Mo trying to peek into it early on. Ivy's been really, really rough for Gambit, though. It's been extremely hit or miss with their capability to actually successfully push back in and take control of it. So this is going to be desperate for them now, as they are running low on that cash flow, as I mentioned before. And this is going to be one of their last buy rounds before they are forced to eco, and Immortals would take the lead. Right now, just kind of waiting out the smokes, but time is getting low now, under the 50-second mark. And Gambit has not really been a team to want to run it down to that very, very low, 20 or 30-second execute. So they're now going to want to try and move in a little bit here to take that control, and Immortals will oblige them partially. Steel, though, moving back in, able to pick up the first kill. FNX was trying to help with the Ivy situation, but looking away from the short lane, he gave away his own life. And now Steel back into the fray, kills the last player by Ivy, isolates the bomb as well. So now Adrian's got a secondary mission to move back in and retrieve that. He's going to have some help from Mo, but right now it's mainly just Adrian having to go back in, though. Steel trading it back out, holds a consistent position, and Bolts is even able to make better progress amongst the chaos here. Mo swinging in, finds one more, but Bolt's in a great position to shut it back down and give that extremely important round to the Immortals.
Yeah, Steel plays Ivy to perfection there. There's absolutely no smokes or nades by Gambit by the time they start taking gun battles. And if you notice how Steel played post, is that he wanted to be the peeker in all those situations. So it was a lot about the timing of when the T's are posted up, and that's when you want to peek over at post. Able to get 3 frags, get the bomb down, and then peek out and sacrifice his life so that Bolts could get the 4th.
Yeah, and Gambit,
the last kill, rather.
Yeah. Gambit buying down here now, and it is Tech 9s and a single AK for Mo. It's not a complete buyout. A lot of players still have around 1,000 or so, but it is bringing down the money to a very, very low point. Thankfully, they're on a pretty big losing bonus, so they should still be good to buy up fully after this one regardless. And now, with the utility they were able to buy, they're getting ready to move into the site. The players from Immortals trying to hold positions on the top train, but it's actually Adrian that strikes first and only loses half of his health in the process of it too. Now trying to move back in, but they're actually going to do something a little bit more interesting about this, and taking it into B and using Z as their own position to isolate off these rotates. They even still have Adrian waiting on the bomb train. They're going to get that plant. They still have CTs in the site that they have to worry about, though. Thankfully, they're holding it off quite raw right now, but here comes Henny trying to start that flank from within side of the site. Hits the first kill with a CZ, trying to drop back down, but Hobbit's on a mission of his own. He knocks out Bolts further into the site, but fails to account for Henny, who picks up a shot with the up. Now this is down to a 1v1. Henny already at very low HP, tries to go for the peak, but it's a miss, and another miss as well, and now he's just going to jump back onto the bomb, try to wait this out for when Zeus chases him, but he can't hold on, and Zeus will clutch it out for Gambit, tying us up once again.
Yeah, and Henny not having a kit really stopped him from winning that round. If he had a kit, he could have just locked it. Instead, he has to go for the kill. A couple missed shots, though. I still think he should have had that. But Zeus wins a really important one. And just when Immortals is about to break their economy and finally force Gambit on a save after winning, what was it, 4 or 5 rounds in a row.
Yep.
Gambit wins the Tech 9 round where they fake outside. Adren gets a ridiculous kill on somebody top 5. That should never happen when you have a Tech 9. And then they go through Z and split towards Enter.
Yeah, once again, we see the economic struggles of the Immortals shine through as they're in a bit of a limited buy. Still the aggression, however, back on ramp. They go right back to it on this round where they do have to force into it, and Bolts immediately impacts, and what's even better, he steals an AK out of their hands, too. So no longer working with just a measly little CZ. He's got a full-on rifle to play with. For the rest of the team, however, still spread out. And Immortals are focusing quite heavily on the A bomb site, sending a few of their players up aggressively. Now, Ivy's going to be left wide open because of this. And Gambit has kept Ivy as a partial option for them. I don't think they're actually going to end up utilizing it, however, with Doja now kind of falling back and away, and they're going to choose to prioritize over here towards T-Con instead. Mo, though, spotting that player up on top. Not going to be able to punish just yet. And they'll safely fall back. Steel even picking up another kill here too. And a second one. Now Luke is going to be able to swing back out. Adrian trading out Hetty in the process. You're down to Mo, but this has been the big player here for Gambit. He knocks out one more in this fight, failing to account for the fact that there's a second guy all of a sudden on top of this train. And Lucas with the high ground will shut it down, giving back the lead to the Immortals. And that should completely break Gambit here now.
Yeah, I mean, in that 4v4, they take the risk to just basically stack and kill anybody coming out team mid, mainly. If they come out ladder, it's mainly up to that E-Box guy. He gets that one kill, which is just super important. Peaks there on Doja, and the two-player sandwich, basically a double sandwich play. You know, how do you really account for that, right? You're never going to expect it.
Well, as we do get past halftime here, close scoreline indeed between these two teams, but Immortals do just barely end up with the edge at the end of it here. 8-7 will be their advantage, and we're going to waste no time switching sides. Now Immortals will go over to the T side, and we'll have to see how Gambit's CT side will fare. Thing is, though, is you've got to be worried about a player like Mo, who led the charge for Gambit on most of that half, especially with his ability to fend off, flanks and these close players that were trying to hunt them down and take up positioning. He ended up nearly double the scoreline of his next highest teammates there, with 15 and 9, and the next players down, Adrian and Doja with 9 kills each.
Yeah, but props to Immortals for coming back that half. I mean, that was a tall task, right? Gambit had so much money, it took so many rounds to even put them onto Tech 9s. They had to win like 5 rounds in a row or something like that, and they really come back and end up winning the half. I mean, but Gambit's more than fine with 7 rounds on their T side. Their CT side is very, very strong on train, so they're happy about this regardless.
So now Gambit going to be focusing big time on that A bomb set early on here. But here's the thing, you've got a big stack of Immortals players trying to push forward over here towards B, and Doja taking this right corner, which could have been dangerous, as he's the only one currently in here to defend it. He spots that big stack, though, and calls for help from Adrian, who's going to be on the quick Z rotate position, already inside of the site. Now the Immortals will start to roll their way back in, and FNX immediately knocking out Adrian. Doja not even going to be challenging it. He'll fall back over behind the tanker and try to hold off here, but he's going to be pushed by more than one. 3 players working together. A little bit of team damage working its way in there too, but FNX still able to hold on, picking up 2 kills. Mo battling back though with 2 quick USP headshots. Stat Steel and FNX going down, re-evening out the manpower between these two teams. There's still one more to try and find in between Tanker here, and Hobbit is going to hunt him out. That's going to be Henny getting knocked out. Now Bolt has to hold. Up on top of the ramp currently inside of this little crevice which he can hold upon. Doesn't have a Molotov, but he does have the element of surprise. You're normally going to expect this guy to come out from upper. Smoke is on the floor. Bolt can't seem to find the shot though, and Hobbit going out in front to defend his teammate will shut it down with the headshot, giving Gambit the pistol.
Yeah, 2v4 retake, I believe, for Gambit. So a round that you don't think they're going to win, but Mo, just these 2 kills right here. Just some nice shots on these aggressive Immortals players. I mean, that's the strat, though. But, I always talk about the little things, and a very important thing to note was that Immortals, usually teams wait for that smoke to bloom, then they flash and they go. But they went with the smoke. So Adren sees that the smoke is coming, and he moves to go into a different position, and that's when they go down lower ramp to catch him out of position.
With that, they're able to get their early access to the site, but eventually Gambit were able to roll back in and take control, and now they hold the advantage here. Immortals are going to go for a very light buy in the second round, mainly just P250s, and I think we see 1 Deagle on FNX. Doja, of course, already impacting there with his push onto the ramp, taking down Steel, giving them an early advantage to work with, which he may be able to capitalize upon even more now, but actually chooses not to take that battle. Comes out the kind of losing end of that one, and he may just outright lose it, but no, holds on. Another headshot from him. Adrian also shining in this site too as he fully commits to it, since his teammate's getting a little bit low, and they are going to be able to pick off these last few players. No losses for Gambit in that second round there.
Yeah, we should be seeing a buy from Immortals right now, but Gambit has a pretty big lead at this point. I mean, you're on the CT side, you already have the round lead. We're going to see a scout on Mo, just 3 umps and an M4 against the full AK buy from Immortals.
You'll note, of course, Immortals, since they didn't get that second plant, though, are going to be a little bit limited in terms of what they bring for utility. Just a few smokes. They won't have any Molotovs or HE grenades to try and use and get players from Gambit out of position with that. So just keep that in mind for when the take actually does begin. In terms of the setup, though, from the Immortals, a fairly standard one. 1 inside of T-Con, a few up in the halls, and 1 waiting out by Ivy here. Zeus, though, doesn't really seem too patient in letting those guys stack up towards T-Con. He just makes a move forward inside and knocks out 2 right at the start. Even attempts to pre-fire into ladder room in case one of them tried to move out for revenge, but not going to be happening just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, he did that completely solo as well. He's the only one with an advanced position on team mid, and he's able to get 2 kills with an ump and pick up an AK. and live. Like, this round is just Zeus making a huge play.
Just took a huge risk as well if he goes down there. As that opens up T-Con and allows for a lot of free control out on the site. Doja, look at him though, moving right back in, executing as well. He's only able to get one this time, but he does spot the bomb inside. Now this is going to prompt for the Molotov over on Ivy to try and hold back more of the Immortals as players. They've only got 2 remaining now, and one of them still stacked way over here towards Ivy. With the bomb in hand, the bomb carrier is what looked like a moment ago going to try to make a move for Inner, and he's going back towards it now. At the very least, he may be able to find the plant. That nade doing massive damage though, and Adren immediately hitting the headshot when Bolts swings into the cross between the trains.
So another strong start from Gambit. I mean, they started out the T side really well, even after losing Pistol. And now it just seems like this game is theirs to lose. I mean, they have a ton of money. Immortals is going to be on a save right now, so they should go up 11-8. Just complete control Gambit has in this game.
Full eco for the Immortals for the most part, just going for the upgraded pistols. Henny not buying anything at all. Lucas only getting a P250, and they're pretty quick to try and move outside. They're going to try and maybe go for a bit of a shocker play here, and it works out to start, taking down Mo at the beginning of it, but Hobbit reacts to that one, taking down FNX across the map over here by Ivy with him getting aggressive. Bolt's able to find a second and another one now as well. Finally, he goes down to Hobbit, who's kind of saving this round at this point. We'll have to hunt for a few more, though, as there's still 2 into the open, back behind the site. Doja in the fray as well here, knocking out Lucas, followed up by Steel. Only 1 remains, and it's going to be Henny, the player, which is the Glock, knocked out with a touchdown grenade as Gambit picks up their 11th round.
Yeah, and even though, Bolts comes out, and I believe he got all 3 of those kills, all Immortals players are kind of committed at that point to outside, and they really don't have any armor, utility, weaponry to kind of take advantage of the picks that Bolts got.
At the very least, it is going to do some economical damage here. Now the scoreline is closed. Immortals onto another gun round. It's going to bring their money down a little bit. Still, boatloads of it for the Gambit players. One of them still sitting on 10K. But at the very least, it makes a few of the others a tad vulnerable. Oh, trying to make that play early on again, though. The molly is going to hit him, but it doesn't actually fully spread to the back just yet. So he will try to creep forward a little bit here and spots the head of Steel, so he's able to take that body shot and once again give Gambit that early advantage off of Mo's up.
Yeah, before it was Zeus with the ump, now it's 4v5 because of the op. And look at how many nades Gambit uses at the start of the round. Like, Immortals has no chance to really do anything at the start of the round. They throw a lot of smokes and Molotovs towards team mid to stop any rush like that. They even smoked up lower ramp while they're going up for an upper ramp pick. So Immortals, anything you want to do against this Gambit team right now, you have to do slow. You have to do later in the round.
Immortals, since obviously losing that player and positioning, is going to be a little bit over the place here. They do take a few seconds to get their players into better spots. The thing is, it was, again, Zeus just getting in the way of what their execute was going to attempt to be, which was probably a straightforward outer take using both ladder and the T-Con, just going to leave Ivy alone. And with leaving Ivy alone, well, they've got another flank work against them. It's going to come from Hobbit. FNX starting to move back over here, and unfortunately, Zeus finds himself in the open. Adrian also going to be a victim of this as well. You need to watch out for this flank, though. Mo missing the shot, thinking that his opponent was going to swing a bit wider here, so Hobbit needs to make a move quickly, hit by a flashbang afterwards, so it gives FNX time to react and counter-trade that as he moves back in. Puts this down to a 3v2 now, with both of the CTs being off-site. Doja trying to sneak back in. He's going to have to immediately impact, and he does. Lucas was prepared for that, but apparently not prepared enough. As Doja will take him back down, Bolt's taking his place just a second later, brings him down very, very low to just about 11 HP here. And now Mo trying to make his move, but he's still pushed back in at very low HP as well, so he can't take these massive risks. Doja now dead, though, and FNX pushing back into the short lane, shuts down the round and gives it to the Immortals.
Yeah, and one of the other benefits of what Gambit is doing is they can always have ladder room control. They can always threaten a team mid push, and then all of a sudden, if you're Immortals, you have to worry about that. And a lot of the time, if you're going to go outside, it's going to kind of show your hand before you even execute on outer, right? Because you have to throw a lot of flashes and whatnot into ladder. But Gambit losing that round, they did end up getting 3 kills. So Immortals basically bought out right now. So if Gambit wins this round, we could be seeing a save come out from Immortals, and this is a very, very important round.
Yeah, Immortals taking it a lot slower, actually trying to watch out for like aggression this time now as they held on top of it, but still very quick to the point with the actual execute. As you can see, already smokes being deployed, them trying to go for it, and they hit their first entry as Adrian gets knocked out here. Zeus close to where the plan is happening, but he can't seem to react to it immediately here. In the meantime, Mo is still looking for shots at players attempting to work their way out from T-Con. Doja is going to be able to hit first strike here for Gambit now, and Zeus continues forward with the second. Doja trying to move his way further out from the ladder room as they are getting flanked, but holding positions and able to trade it evenly back down to a 2v2. Lucas is also working his way through Z currently. It is going to attempt to flank, but Mo ready for that one. Hits the close-up shot against Lucas. Now just leaves Henny alone in this situation here. He's going to very slowly try to work his way back around Sandwich along through the short lane and try to counter it out, but this is not planted for him right now, and he loses out in the first duel he takes. It'll be a little bit close on that defuse, and actually they're not even going to have enough time for it. So with that said, Immortals will win out the round and take it up to 10.
Yeah, I mean, the lack of a kit, Mo has to kill that lurker, and it just takes way too long for him to get on the bomb. Gambit is having a lot of success, though, just flanking. Doja twice now has gone down ladder without anybody from Immortals watching it, gotten kills. Hobbit had that T mid flank. He only ended up getting 1 kill, but it should have been much more. It should have been a round-winning flank. So Immortals, you know, if Gambit's going to continue this, it could be something that Immortals wins a round because they kill the flanker, maybe go, you know, if Doja pushes in or something like that, kill him, immediately take inside. But they got to start watching out for that.
Gambit now into a pause here with their money being basically broken. This is going to be the worst part about it too. Is everybody buying up into this round as much as they can, but for those that haven't bought yet, Doja and Zeus trying to figure out how exactly they're going to proceed with Zeus only having 2,900 and Doja at 3,200. Zeus resolves to go for a UMP buy, and I imagine Doja's going to have to do something similar, but they're just trying to scrap together weapons here now, and them being broken could allow for Immortals to once again swing back and take the lead, just like they did in the first half for a few rounds.
Yeah, and that time Immortals executing pretty quick, not allowing Gambit to, you know, make it 4v5 or get aggressive anywhere really in any type of mid round, getting an op pick, right? They just executed pretty quick onto outside, and everybody was out of the play. Like, it was an easy plant for Immortals. Gambit forced to do a retake setup, and, you know, without a kit, and they still this round only have 1.
Taking way too long to be able to find the position of the last player that was alive there for the Immortals. Henny tries to go for the no-scope early on. Not going to be able to hit it, just on point as he was looking for. And Mo trying to respond back to it, but also probably going to be ending up missing those shots. Gambit back to aggression once more, though, as you have Zeus pushed up into the ladder room here. Adrian even trying to play close within the sandwich this time. Not prioritizing the bomb train as you'd usually expect, but just trying to grab intel early on, which Zeus has done. The thing is, though, is this heavy commitment into the A site would come back to bite them, but thankfully they're kind of destacking it, putting players closer to the bomb train, which is going to make this rotate to inner a little bit easier. Immortals going down the ramp now, starting off their push inside, and Henny hitting that first kill. Doja now trying to survive for the bomb train, was looking for upper pressure, but no one ever came back out, so he's off angle when he finally takes the duel. Henny now hitting another shot, and Lucas pushing forward up to Z, gonna try to chase Zeus back and prevent him from saving as he's running it away, having to turn himself around, but he's got 2 different angles to play off of here, and fails to look towards Z, which is where FNX is gonna swing out from first, punishing Zeus and preventing any saves at all by Gambit.
Yeah, really bursty strat from Immortals, and they're looking great on this T side. They just immediately smoke down lower, flash down, rush it. There's no counter nades really coming out from Doja. He catches a flash, he goes middle bomb. Henny outpicks Mo, using that one-way smoke at lower ramp. And then from there, Doja has to look upper because of that smoke. He doesn't know if they're out lower, you know, and where exactly they are. It's just kind of an impossible task for him to hold. He's lucky. He would be lucky to even get 1 kill there, just positionally speaking.
Well, Immortals swinging out once again. Zeus attempts a surprise from Elox, but apparently not going to get very close with that one. The rest of the CTs that are out here are for the most part hanging out around the trains, and Immortals are making quick work of that one. FNX getting lost along the way, but doesn't seem to be too big of an issue. Already down to just 2 players now, 1 left alive for Gambit, and Hobbit alone here, holding out at the edge of the short lane, trying to line up for 1 kill, but not even going to get close to that. Lucas knocks them out, and it's Immortals now taking the lead for the 2nd time so far in this game.
Very similar start to each half, right? The T side, you know, they lose the pistol. Then once they start getting a little bit of guns, they, you know, they win the mid game or the middle of the rounds. And now we'll see if Gambit can stop it. Mo back on the op again. 4 M4s for them. Just seems like this outer aggression by Immortals is it looks like they're just going to rush outside again.
They're going to continue to play very aggressively and very straightforward here as it's working for them. Gambit don't seem to be ready or set up for these types of pushes, and you're going to see an example of that right at the start of this play. Mo not checking the short lane, expecting them to be that far up. Hobbit and Adrian are going to be able to battle this back this time, though. We're not going to immediately be put into like a 2v4 like we seem to have in these past few rounds, but still advanced positioning being taken, but also a flank this time from Doja as he picks up a beautiful double kill, knocking out FNX in bolts. Just going to leave Henny alive here now, and he's forced back behind T-Con, so Gambit holding good control. Unless they don't play this together like that, that's where Henny's going to be allowed to take advantage upon the last 2, and now isolate this into a 1v1.
Yeah, but again, they're not watching the flank. That's the 4th time that they've gotten flanked, and the 3rd time that they've been flanked from Doja.
Henny now alone in this situation, and he is going to choose to take his time with the play. The problem is, though, he's rotating right into where Doja is currently hiding out at, from behind that spindle on the jump up, back from behind Z. He's paying attention to it, and for the most part, expecting this to be a play either out from Z or over in the ramp itself, but instead, Henny just took a long path to get himself into the A bomb site. But now look at this. He's going to be hiding up in heaven, giving him a little bit more intel. And if Doja moves out too prematurely here, it could just give himself away. But I think Doja's going to be fine to hang out in this position and wait for Henny to try and cross out from the site or further in. Doja's still getting a little bit closer up now. He's all the way behind the ticket booth. And Henny finally going to come down from his perch up in heaven. The smoke going out will give him room to safely cross and plant, but this is actually going to be right in a position where Goja can wrap back around, find Henny, and take him down. So it's a round for Gambit, and they're going to tie us up at 12-12.
Yeah, Doja saving that round with that ladder flank. Plays the 1v1 very well. He positions himself in Z, so if he goes inside, he can go quickly there, maybe challenge him before he can get into a good spot. And of course, if he goes outside, he's right there, ready to frag him like we just saw. But Immortals should be able to be on a full buy. And, you know, Gambit won the round, but they won the round with only one alive. So their economy is pretty hurt right now. They're going to be able to get the op, maybe even double op if they want, although we usually don't see that too much from Gambit. So yeah, we are only going to see one of them. But, you know, again, they won the round with one alive. So if Immortals can take this round, they're going to reset them. And we'll see if they continue with that same strategy, just not allowing Gambit to, you know, get aggressive with Mo and make it 4v5 or anything with these quick bursty strats.
Yeah, it's looking like, once again, Immortals are going to try and put some pressure outside, but it's just a little bit, not actually sending a whole lot of players out into the open this time. For the most part, actually sending quite a few of them back through the White Halls to try and get themselves in a position over here to line up for sort of a B hit. And FNX just preemptively spraying in the event that Zeus wanted to try and venture forward into the ladder, which he did, but not that far forward. Just going to be, I think, hanging out by the doorway here in the event they actually try to drop play. Gambit sort of expecting an inner hit here now, and it's a good read, too, having these two players so committed and so early into the site, as now you could potentially have someone like Zeus try to push their way back up the ladder in a moment here when they execute, as this is going to be end up being a full commitment from the Immortals inside of this site. Well, in they go, just a little bit of delay to wait on the counter nades from Gambit, and then they will move back in, and as they do it, Doja sits in the cross, ready to challenge. He picks up the first kill, but is going to get immediately traded up by FNX. Now it's up to Adrian and Mo, who have rotated into this site. That flank is on its way in, however, and in just a moment, Zeus is going to try to impact with this shotgun from close up. Henny is able to hold against one. Henny finding a second here, and Zeus is rolling right through as both Mo and him pick up the last two kills and give another round to Gambit.
I mean, again, it's the flank. Zeus comes up ladder, nobody's watching it. It's a 2v2. He just flanks them with the Max 7. And that round, a lot of it just came down to actually outside. Because Zeus is in ladder, he knows nobody's there. There's no Ivy pressure at all from Immortals. It's just a straight inner take. And Mo's actually opping outside into T mid. So if you come outside, he's going to have a really early call. That's going to allow you to have two towards inner, you know, throughout the entire round.
And like I said before, earlier on in the round, a great read by Gambit to just put two in that site to begin with. The first player, Doja, if I remember correctly, only gets that one kill as he takes the duel, but it's the second player that is able to pick up far more and buy the time, not only for Mo to rotate in with the op, but also to allow Zeus to get into a position with, you know, obviously a not so perfect gun, but thankfully it was wide open for him to just roll right in and even, you know, make mistakes with his aim to finish off the job if needed. Now we are going to have players from the Immortals once again trying to line themselves up for a box halls push here. Dozier spotting it, and he does indeed spot it, so Molly onto the ground. They're going to challenge it anyway. They do overwhelm him, but the Molotov finishes one up before they can escape the flames. FNX trying to continue forward, but Adrian swinging in, trades that kill back out onto FNX, leaving just a few alive from within side of the site, and Mo hitting yet another shot, knocking out Lucas. Just Bolts and Henny left alive. Both in the back calls are on the ramp too. So Henny down below, hoping he gets a couple peeks from these players, but not going to find it. They don't even have the molly to throw back down. Adrian kills the top player. That was the one with the nade as well. And Henny tries to challenge, but is immediately dispatched by Zeus as Gambit go up to 14, and this time with 4 alive.
Yeah, and the key kill there is when, I believe it was FNX, if I'm not mistaken, is rushing towards Z, and the Z player just comes out and kills him. That's Adrian. The key. Yeah, that's the key kill right there. If that would have went the T's way, that's almost certainly an Immortals round.
Well, now it is going to be a round, this is, where Immortals really have no choice but to win it out as they forced into it. 3 umps, 2 rifles as well, 1 AK and 1 Galil. They're definitely stretching the buy. And if they drop this one, They're going to find themselves very, very limited to go into what could be the last round, and a round where Gambit could indeed just end it right here. Mo ends up boosting himself up on top of Amali, so a lot of their players behind the bomb train are going to be out of position here as Immortals just go right back to the aggression that was working for them earlier on in this half. This time, though, their positions are being punished quite heavily. Only Bolts and Lucas and now FNX able to trade in a few kills, kept even, but Adrian still holding on to the old bomb tunnel. He'll take down FNX, leaving just Bolts alive, and Doja swings in again from the backside to shut out Bolts and give Gambit their 15th round.
I mean, again, it's the flank.
Yep.
That is, how many times has Doja flanked them and they're not watching it? If they simply watch that, it's a free kill and the inner side is open. I don't know how you can't account for that time after time again when it just keeps punishing you.
I mean, at this point, we're starting to sound like a broken record bringing it up every round, but it's true.
How do you not adjust to that?
Yeah, that's the big question. Well, now we take a look at what the Immortals bring to the table, and it's a very similar vibe, but an even less in state, less utility across the board. One player having to go away from a UMP all the way down to a Tech 9, and now no AKs, 2 Galils sitting in the mix. And it is looking like they're going to attempt a very, very similar strat, already setting up their full nade rush outside here and sending all their players in position to execute. Now here they go, out into the open, but already Adrian being able to burn one, Mo, and Adrian burns a second, and Mo hits his second shot for this round. Down to 8 HP, but it's all on Henny alone now. He's able to catch that spray onto Zeus, and he also goes up on top to find Mo. Nice clip there to be able to finish off the job on Mo, but he's not going to get any further than that. Adrian finishes off the map, and it's Gambit that take control here, 16-12, and a 1-0 start to this grand final set.
Yeah, and I mean, if Immortals just plays a little bit more carefully on that T side, especially when it came to Doja flanking, you almost never see that happen at this level of play. That player inside full rushes non-stop to get down ladder and flank, and he was successful each time. And it's a free kill if you're Immortals and you watch it. It really is an absolute free kill. Just, I don't know, that's very questionable by Immortals.
It's a bit of a shame too, because that was really the one thing that kept, like, you know, causing them to lose these rounds. They were doing really good once again in the mid portion of the half, winning it out with just that blind aggression. But the problem is it was purely blind in the sense that they weren't watching those flanks. That was the one thing that saved Gambit in almost every single round that allowed them to actually close out on that map.
I mean, I don't know what they're saying to each other. It came and was a huge impact in every single one of those rounds. He's literally just rushing Blue.
Yeah.
He's just rushing behind you.
Holding W.
It's a free kill if you're a T and you watch for it, and just nobody even cares about it.
Yeah, it's well, it's a bit unfortunate for the Immortals. Hopefully they'll be able to adjust for that and go into map number 2, but it's very much a Gambit affair here on Train, and they are going to be able to take control of that. Now they're 1-0 up, and that 2-0 prediction that the analysts are looking for may be very well true, of course, as now we're going to go over to Inferno, where we definitely have to see some big impact for the Immortals, and they want to keep it alive to send it over to the 3rd map on Cobblestone.
Yeah, I mean, Immortals is a lot better, in my opinion, on Inferno than they are on Train. We kind of expected Gambit to take Train, at least I did. But having said that, Immortals had a great opportunity to win that map. They had 2 different rounds where they were fully bought out, could have broken the economy from Gambit. Unfortunately for them, they weren't able to because, once again, just not watching that flank.
All right, well, now we're going to bring the analysts into the conversation now and get their thoughts, of course, on how map number 1 went, guys.
Yeah, boys, it's an intriguing one. I think we do just throw it straight over to you guys. Daze, your observation is that they weren't watching the booty, and I know Halvor's no stranger to that. So we'll let
it constantly goes wrong.
Yeah.
No, that was definitely an issue. We saw Doja having an amazing impact really throughout the game, and I think what Sam mentioned really, the fact that Doja was able to get back behind them so quickly, similar to what Stanislav did for Optic so many times when they were going at it at Train. That was really the deciding factor. Whenever you saw Immortals going towards that yard area, Doja was just kind of a part of that rush with them.
How many times do you think it was? Like 3, 4?
I think it was 5 times in total, and I think it was 4 by Doja and 1 by Hobbit. One of the rounds, Hobbit only got 1, and they lost that. But what do you think? I mean, that's like kind of ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
like, I'm kind of shocked.
I don't know if they're like fully focused on their set execute, that in their execute they forgot to have a guy watching their flank.
I think it's also, the mind games come into play here because, Doja does it once, and then he does it twice. And now you're thinking to yourself, like, Doja at this point is expecting someone to hold the flank, so he's not going to be as fast. But Doja just doesn't give a damn. So that works out.
It even happened on the inner bomb side as well, where like they were just always flanking instantly, and Immortals never had map control.
Yeah. So there was one round with Zeus.
I completely forgot about that. Zeus flanked with the Mag 7.
Yep. Chaos on map 1. Train did go the way of Gambit, and I think we were all crossing our fingers and toes for 3, but we'll see what happens on Inferno. We'll come back to you guys in a moment. You can go get a mouthful of water before we get into that second map. We'll just quickly get these guys' thoughts. Thank you. So, Halvor and Eric, we've seen Immortals fall on Train. I mean, full double digits. They put up the fight. Is this spurring confidence for your predictions? Are you feeling pretty sound in what you've seen so far?
I mean, so far, I guess it was as expected that Gambit would get away with it. I think it's fair to say, well, you know, win the first map at least, you know, because I do think that Immortals have plenty of chances of actually closing Train out as well, which is kind of surprising. The point where Gambit loses the 1v2 situation after plant where they don't have a defuse kit after, you know, basically forcing up. I think it was only Doja who had anything left in the bank. That could have been a massive swing around, but then you see 2 rounds later, Doja comes through in the clutch once again versus in the 1v1 versus Henny, just wonderfully played by him. And again, off the back of a back 7 pop, that kind of sealed everything for them. Yeah,
and those 1v1s, like when you're watching it, you realize you don't get those scenarios very often when they just disappear. You know, you have like 30 seconds of just this kind of...
It becomes this own game within the game.
It was so interesting. It really was, just to see how, like, from Henny's perspective, was Henny correct?
Yeah.
How he just kind of, he would like, had no idea. Like, especially on Train, there's like 7 different possibilities of where Dosia is working his magic, and he did pick up that round. So did, and Gambit picked up the map. Any kind of closing thoughts on Train? Because I want to have, you know, ample time just to talk about Inferno, Eric.
Yeah, I think about just looking at how Immortals played the late end of their terrorist half. You could see that they were going straight into execute, something that they've planned and practiced. Right. And a lot of teams will do that in pressure situations where you go to what you've practiced. Yeah. But I think they're sometimes just hopping into it too quickly. You saw just like a fast outside rush that they've practiced a lot. I forget what else. We saw like the smoke walls outside, but like just right off the bat, kind of like freeze time calling, like Steel is going to be calling, let's do this strategy. Yeah. And instead of them just working the default, kind of baiting the nades out of Gambit and just kind of using your individual skill to see what's going on, we really didn't see that out of them. I'm wondering why.
It's kind of the opposite of what we saw from G2, who did the exact opposite. They would still be very quick about it. They would just immediately go into, you know, trying to find some openings with their individual skill and not ever go back to setting up for an execute after they've baited out a couple of you know, nades and mollies here and there. So again, it's finding that sweet balance between the two that I think Immortals kind of struggled with, because it's very true what you said. It was either just an immediate setup for a yard push or just setting up for that inner execute. And I think the second time they did that inner execute, that they used, like they set up immediately, not getting any map control at all, but they still waited long enough to the point where Gambit figures out, like, okay, we've kind of pushed the extremities. We haven't heard a single thing towards Ivy or teammate throughout the entire game. And that's where you see Suze. Yeah, exactly. And that's where you see Suze coming behind, and that just completely ruins whatever hope Immortals had of winning the round, even though he did struggle a bit with the Mag 7.
Do they fall into the same footfalls, do you think, on Inferno? We got to see them. I mean, Daze has already stated he thinks they're much tighter and much better on that. Do you think they have the same faults on their T side coming into Inferno from what you've seen, Eric? Because I mean, there seems to be quite a lot of praise for the Brazilians on Inferno.
Yeah, I think they're going to be better on Inferno than they are in Train. I didn't get to see how Gambit. I know Gambit's been recently having success on Inferno. I didn't see like how they're doing their setup, like where Mo's opping. So I'm not really sure of how that matchup's going to work out, but maybe you have some insight on that.
Well, for at least what they did versus SK at the Summit, SK do have a very distinct way of playing Inferno, which is very easily abusable, which is what Gambit took full advantage of, because they would send Phelps alone into Banana with having Fallen playing from T-Pit. And that was pretty much Banana control for them. And Gambit would respond with that, just immediately having 3 people push aggressively in Banana, take out Phelps. If they get the 1-for-1 trade, they were perfectly happy with that, because SK did very little to actually recontest control for Banana. And at that point, we end up in a similar scenario as we saw with Hellraisers versus Gambit, the fact that, you know, you're just giving away half the map.
Right.
And you know, unlike what we saw Hellraisers do, Gambit take full advantage of that. They're just going to stick one guy towards B, stack up on A side, and makes your A defense so much better. And that's something that obviously Immortals have to keep in mind. But I think it's going to be difficult for them, because we have seen, you know, they do like to go towards Banana early. They do send more, you know, just firepower really towards Banana on the T side, but they do have to be aware of the fact that Gambit oftentimes comes with 3 players and not just the typical 2 who flash out to see if they can get an early pick.
Well, it's going to be very exciting. You've got, you know, an intriguing storyline starting to develop. Should Gambit win this map, they will not only be crowned champions here for DreamHack Astro Open in Austin, they also will probably have climbed into that top 10 ranking. Currently, in most people's eyes, sitting 11th on those team standings. This would be enough to put them into that top 10. On the other side, Immortals getting their first win with FNX in the roster and lifting a second DreamHack Open trophy. That certainly would be pretty big for them. Either way, it has to be a Brazilian barbecue on Inferno to get us to that 3rd, or it will all end here and Gambit will finally break that, what feels like a curse of grand finals, but no trophy. It's all going to be determined on Inferno. Let's jump into it after a very short commercial break. Blue and Dazed are waiting in the wings, though, to cast potentially our final map of the tournament.